Hello everybody, this is Albert with Green Tea House. I hope you're doing well today. Today we're going to talk about the best teas or the best category of tea to drink in the springtime. Now before we begin, if you haven't visited us in New Braunfels, Texas, in Green, Texas, right outside of New Braunfels, Texas, halfway between San Antonio and Austin, come visit us. We'd like to meet you. Also subscribe and hit the notification bell so these episodes come fresh to you, and post a comment. All right, so if you've watched us from the beginning, or maybe you've found our channel and scrolled down to episode 1 because you see that the episodes are enumerated and you think, oh, maybe it's important to start with episode 1, which it is, then you'll know that the first, 40 videos were recorded here because it was when we had opened the store virtually or cyberly, but we had not found a place for the brick and mortar tea store that we have now. And then once we found that place, most of the videos have been recorded over there. But I am recording this one back at home. So springtime be coming. Now, of course, depending on where you live, spring can be early or late. Down here in Texas, spring could be here in late January. We already get 80s, and it's not unheard of to get in the high 80s in January. But most of you guys, you would say, oh, okay, spring is going to be like mid-March. If you're up north, April. But we're just going to talk about generality with spring. And I don't want to hear like, well, actually, Albert, spring starts with the vernal equinox on March 23rd. So are there good teas that should be drunk at the tea, or maybe reawoken for the tea? I would say so. So let's review. Of course, Camellia sinensis, the tea plant, boasts 6 families or categories: greens, yellows, whites, oolongs, blacks, and dark tea. That's on the order of oxidation. And the difference of these categories is essentially not the leaves per se, but really what they do to the leaves post plucking it, in terms of how do they bruise it, how do they tumble it, how do they rip it, and so forth. So I think one way to look at the spring is kind of like, let's look at the hot and cold months, and what do we tend to drink during those times? So again, let's take Texas or the United States out of the equation, because we really don't have a tea culture. So if you look at Japan, China, Korea, East Asia, in the summer, they tend to drink the lighter categories of tea, green tea, for example. And they tend to drink it cold. Not everywhere. I mean, there's places like me, I'll drink hot tea if it's 102 degrees outside. I always drink hot tea. But in general, people tend to gravitate toward green teas, white teas, and if they drink yellow, like in China, they'll drink the lighter teas. And then in the winter, what do? We tend to drink black teas, cinnamon spice, chai, because it's cold, right? There's something about the full oxidation of black tea, all the release of those theoflavonoids that release the robust flavor. We think of the name, when we think of black teas, we think of the word robust. So we'll drink a lot more of those in the winter. So then you kind of know the answer of what I'm going to say. What category of tea should we be drinking in the spring? Because if you think of the summer as hot, and you're going to be drinking light teas like green, and if you're thinking of the winter, we drink blacks and maybe some dark teas like pu'er in the winter, then of course oolong is the perfect category to be drinking in the spring. Why? Because oolong is that middle oxidation range. So green and yellow tea is 0% oxidized, white tea is 5% oxidized, black tea is 100% oxidized, pu'er or dark tea is a type of dark tea, is fermented. So it's not even on the oxidation. Some people call it post-fermented, but it's essentially not on the oxidation level. Oolong is that middle category where you can get anywhere 15 to 70% oxidation in the oolong category. I've talked about in the episode the desert island category, that if I had to drink one category of tea for the rest of my life and not have to worry about health, I'd drink oolongs. Why? Because oolongs have the greatest range of taste. So if you look at the lightly oxidized oolongs, these are going to be like white and green teas, just very light. So famous ones would be like Dongding, Frozen Summit, or Iron Goddess of Mercy. These are just very light. They're just gentle. And then of course you can go to the higher, more oxidized ones like Oriental Beauty or Bai Hao. You look at some of the Wu Yi oolongs, those are going to be more oxidized as well. And so when I think of spring, I think of the lightly oxidized oolongs. Why? First of all, if you look at like Iron Goddess of Mercy, Osmanthus oolong, you look at Dongding, these have a natural nice, like they're a green, there's like a green tinge to them. So even though, of course, oolongs are wrapped in knots and they're tumbled and bruised, not too much bruise where it would be 100% oxidized, but not too little bruise where it's not even considered oolong. That's why oolong is the hardest category of tea to make for tea masters. But there is a nice green to it. So it kind of reminds me of spring, right? It's cold, the foliage is trying to bloom, there's a little green in the air. So it just kind of reminds me of spring, just the color of oolong. We're talking about lightly oxidized oolongs. And then there's the taste. So it's not going to be as light as green, but it's not going to be as robust as black. So it's that kind of porridge, not too hot, not too cold, just right in the middle. And so I would say once you're coming out of the cold months, you're drinking your black teas, you're drinking your pu'er, I would tell you once that little warmth comes, turn to the oolongs. A lot of people come to this tea store and they just never drink oolongs, and I just tell them how amazing the flavor profile is, the taste profile. But most people will drink what they're used to. And I would say, no, break free of the confines of what you're used to and try oolongs, because oolongs are amazing. And I would say even cold brew, like Iron Goddess of Mercy, we do that cold brew. That's probably our most popular cold brew, more than black tea, more than iced tea, more than hibiscus. It's just amazing. So try osmanthus, Iron Goddess of Mercy, Dong Ding, Alishan from Taiwan. We sell most of these. They're just really amazing, and that's what I would recommend. If you look at the tisane section really quickly, honorable mentions, great ones to drink in the spring. Well, look, I mean, you can drink chamomile anytime. You can drink peppermint anytime. You can drink rooibos anytime. I would probably tell you like a good spring one to drink would be something that maybe is a little floral. Like butterfly pea flower to me is always a summer drink. They always serve it cold if you go to Thailand. I wouldn't be drinking that in the winter. I would say something like a red raspberry leaf is something that's really nice in the spring. I would say licorice root's kind of a nice, refreshing one. Echinacea is a great one to drink in the spring. And then any of the tulsi, holy basil varieties, I think are also great to drink in the spring. Guys, post in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. What's your favorite drinks, your teas to drink in the spring? Until next time, take care. God bless.